Hallelujah. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to this channel. Excuse me, Voice in the Wilderness. I am Maxi, your teacher for today. Voice in the Wilderness is a subsidiary of the Handwriting of Jehovah, a ministry dedicated to the restoration and the upliftment and the reconciliation. That's the word I was looking for. The restoration and the reconciliation of humanity to our God. Okay? So, welcome. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenas nuit, hello, shalom. All right. Last week, we started a series titled A Peek, a Peer, a look-see, if you will, into Satan or the Satan or the enemy of our souls or the wicked one or the dragon. He has a plethora of names. And we're looking at ideas and where these ideas emanates from. Where do they come from, right? Last week we looked at the word serpent because he's called a serpent. You know, that serpent, that snake, right? And we looked at the meaning of the word serpent, and we realized that, wait a second, the serpent may not mean everything we think it means, right? We recognize the serpent as the most subtle is the biblical narrative definition. The most subtle, the most cunning, I guess is the best word. Shrewd is another word, right? Of all the beasts of the field, we are dealing with a beast of the field. No, wait a second. We are humans. There's no beast of the field that's more cunning than us. You think so? Yes, they are cunning creatures, right? The orcas of the oceans, you know, the huge, they are cunning. They know how to hunt, and they know how to outwit their prey. They are cunning beings. The beasts of the forest, lions and tigers and bears. Every creature is created with this ability to survive, not just survive, but to create what they need to get food, to build shelter, and where to build the shelter and how to build the shelter, you know. So to say that the beasts of the fields are more cunning than humans is listen, people, we have to get real with this thing. Okay? We have to get real. We look at dogs. Humans, we train the dogs. Doesn't matter what the dog can do, we train the dogs to search for cadavers, right? Dead bodies in abandoned buildings, broken down buildings, in floods, in tornadoes and stuff like that. We train these animals to do these things, to sniff cocaine, to sniff bombs and all. Listen, we train them. I want you to get that. And I've said this before. I was asked, how do we know that we are supreme in the earth? Well, look at the world. Look at it. Who sits? I'm posing this question carefully because the biblical narrative states that God sits on the circle of the earth. God is king over the earth. God rules. He reigns. He is in charge. But if you look at the earth from the human perspective, from humanity, we are in the lead. We lead everything. We build buildings. In Dubai, we push the sea back. We pour the sand and make palm leaves in the ocean. We build skyscrapers. We blow them up and bring them down. The animals don't do that. We do that. Everything you see that has been created outside of the natural things, like the mountains and the oceans and the sun and the moon and the stars and so on, the rivers and so on. We created those things. We built the Panama Canal. So yes, humanity, for want of saying it very cautiously, humanity is in control. Okay? But remember, there is one who controls us, not controls us from the perspective of we puppets, we his puppets, and we just doing his bidding, right? But from the perspective of he is still supreme over us, right? And he watches everything that we do, everything that he hears, everything that we say, because as we all know, the biblical narrative also declares that we will be held accountable for everything that we do and say. So, that was my opening blah. That was my opening statements, if you will. We are peeking into this idea of Satan, the devil, the wicked forces, the forces of evil. We are peeking into the ideal. What's all of this thing about Satan? He's called so last week we looked at the serpent again because I said, that's one of his alibis. That's one of his names, right? Serpent, that devil. Okay. Today we're going to look at another word that is associated with him. Mind you, we looked at serpent, and we have to remember, Yeshua said, be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. So is Yeshua saying be as wise as the devil? Is the devil wise? You see what I'm saying? We have taken words and we have changed meaning of words to for our own benefit, to create our own ideals and ideologies. And I'm trying to weed through what we have created, right? To demonstrate or to show or to bring to light, we have to rethink. We have to take another look, a second look, if you will, at who might this person, if he is a person, be. Right? So, the second word we're going to look at is the word enemy. Because he's the enemy of our souls, ain't he? Is he the enemy of our, is he the enemy of our souls? Is the one that we think the epitome of evil? Is he the enemy of our souls? We will see. Again, we're going to do a lot of reading. We're going to look into the scripture. Because I'm telling you right now, Jehovah, God says, okay, God has said that if we declare him, if we believe him, and we don't structure our lives, our thoughts, our ideals, and our ideologies behind his instructions or in line with his instructions, he, God, Jehovah, he will be an enemy to us. So, is God the devil? It's something we're going to look at as we go into this study. Amen? So, we're going to look at the word enemy. Let's look at the definition of enemy. It's one that is antagonistic to another, especially one seeking to injure, to overthrow, or to confound an opponent. Here's another meaning. Something harmful or deadly. A military adversary, a hostile unit or force. All right? That's the dictionary's definition of an enemy. So my systems are moving really slow here. We started the last study from last week in the book of Genesis. All right. Now, we just heard what an enemy is. So if we go back to Genesis, not Genesis chapter 1. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any animal of the field which Jehovah has made. And he said to the woman, has God really said, you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, and we talk about this conversation. Is the serpent, here's the question, is the serpent in the garden, in this conversation with this woman, is he this woman's enemy? Is he opposing the woman? Is he antagonizing the woman? Is he fighting with the woman? He is certainly having a conversation with her, but is he opposing the woman? Okay? Think about it. Give you a second. Think about it. It would seem to me that this serpent, this conversation is about God. It would seem to me that this conversation is about what God said versus what God didn't say. This conversation seems to me to be focused on what are you going to do about what God says? Versus, what are you going to do about what I am telling you? So, again, the question is the serpent an enemy? Or is the serpent having a conversation in an effort to cause the woman to not look at what she knows, or not look at what she is supposed to do, but look at something else? This is not a fist fight. This is not two people in a ring, right? The target here is, I'm having a conversation. She's having a conversation with him. He's having a conversation with her, because there is a need to find out, where do you stand? We are going to do some reading. Okay, we are going to do some reading. Every king, I'll say it again, every king demands, he needs, he has to have loyalty. And every subject in his kingdom has to be tested. So the tester is not necessarily an enemy. The tester is put in place to perform a test. Is you went to high school, you went to elementary school, you went to college, you went to university, you went to the police academy, the fire academy, the military academy. You are put through training, whether it's rigorous or whether it's haphazard, you are put through training. Here comes the tester. Here comes the person who says, okay, in order to be a part of this group, you have to pass these tests. You have to show us that you are fit to be among us. So they put you in a room, they put you in a scene, they put you in a place, and you are asked questions. Is that person who is trying to prove you, who's trying to put you to the test, is that person your enemy? Is he your enemy? Or does he work for the one who needs to know where you are? Who needs to know how fit you are to be a part of the group? Again, we have to understand that not because you are being tested, that the tester is your enemy per se. Okay? Now, we're saying these things in general. Of course, if you get in a fist fight with somebody who's trying to steal your money or your wallet or your jewelry or whatever, your car or whatever, of course that person in that moment is your enemy. So you have to fend them off. Of course. But again, we are talking about kingdom. We are talking about kingdom principles. And we are talking about who the real enemy is. Right? And I want to charge you and each and every one of us that we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at what part did I play in this? No, I may not have played any part. Look at Job. Right? Look at Job. Let's go over to Job. Let's go over to Job chapter 1. Let's start there. And it starts simply as this. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. That man, listen, was blameless and upright and one who feared God. He feared God. The proverb says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So Job was a wise man. Can we say that? And he turned away from evil. He turned away from evil. That's a word we have to look at also. Right? There were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep. So he had a lot. He was wealthy, well off. Okay? His sons, verse 4, went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday. So he had, let's see how many sons he had. There were born to him, verse 2, 7 sons and 3 daughters. That's 10 children. That's a big family. His sons, on each of their brothers and sisters' birthdays, as we often do, they held feasts. They held a birthday, a shindig, a birthday, a breakdown, a birthday party. On each of his birthdays, 10 times a year. Am I counting correct? 10 children, 10 birthdays, all in the same, well, of course, is every year you turn, you have a birthday. Every year you have a birthday. So that's 10 birthdays in every year. That's 10 feasts. It's 12 months in a year. Look, let's do the math. That's at least, let's do the math. Let me see if I could calculate that. 12 divided by 10 is every month, every 1.2 months, they have a feast. Okay? Every 1.2 months, or 1 1/5 of a month, they have a feast. That's 1 month. What's 1/5 of a month? Is a month and a week. Quote unquote 5 weeks a month, maybe. Not every month have 5. It's 4 weeks in a month. All right? They have a feast. And they sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. Listen. Oh boy. It's do I really want to go into this? Do you guys really want me to go into this? 7 boys. See, we don't want to imagine, okay? We don't want to imagine the possibilities, the things that make you go, What in the world is the narrative trying to tell us? What is the narrative trying to imply? 7 sons, 5 and 2, 3 daughters. It would, so let's minus the 3 daughters, because it doesn't specifically say that all the children had a feast on their birthday. But it seemed to indicate that it's the sons. His sons went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday. So let's do the math again. That's 12 months divided by 7 sons. 1 5/7 of a month. It's still every 2 months at least. Almost every 2 months is a big bash. And these 7 boys, at each one of these 7 parties, send to call their sisters to eat and drink with them. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. What we are talking about, the enemy, enemies, and if at some point we're going to discuss the last enemy. 1 Corinthians 15 talk about the last enemy. Okay? And the last enemy, just to put it out there, is not the devil. You see, we're so worried about the devil. We're so worried about the devil. We're so worried about him. We ain't thinking about he's not the last enemy. There is a last enemy. We know what that is. Go 1 Corinthians 15 and read it. You know what the last enemy is. Not yet. We ain't going there yet. I want us to think about this narrative. 7 sons, every year they have 7 feasts. What's the feast of Jehovah? How many of them are there? I think it's 7. Interesting. But at these 7 feasts, the boys not having the 7 feasts by themselves. Right? Think about it. They're not having a party by themselves. They are sending to call their 3 sisters to come and eat and drink with them. Listen. Oh gosh, this is so incriminating. This information is incriminating. Are the 7 sisters going to invite their friends? It's possible. Sorry, not 7 sisters, the 3 sisters. Are the 3 sisters bringing their friends? Let's just say each sister. Well, Job had friends. When we read the book of Job, we know Job had friends. We know his friends we figure his friends probably had children. So if Job had friends and Job's friends had children, then Job's friends probably were friends with his friends' children. And we know, I would like to go back there, but I know. Let me put it on me. I know when I get invited to a party, I am tempted to invite one of my friends. You see what I'm saying? Because if I don't know who's going to be at the party, I want to be able to have somebody to talk to. At least. Because you never know. So I might be tempted, was normally tempted, to bring a friend. Listen, I'm just being real with the story. But when you read the story, now remind you, we're still talking about enemy. But the narrative opens up with Job being a blameless man who feared God. But this is Job. This is not his children. Didn't say anything about Job's children was righteous and blameless. No, it said he had 10 children, 7 sons and 3 daughters. And the 7 sons seemingly liked to hold parties. Every 1.7 months, 1.5 months or something like that, they had a party for each of their birthdays. And when they had these parties, they're not just having the parties with the 7 boys. Come on, let's eat and drink and let's tell stories and let's talk and have a good time and then go home. No, they're eating and drinking with their 3 sisters. Do I have to go into what happens when men and women get together? With food and drink. Do I have to talk about that? Or do I have to spell it out? Or can we just, yeah, they're brothers and sisters. And hopefully that should prevent some things from happening. But what if the brothers and sisters, what if the sisters bring friends? What if the drinking involve alcoholic beverages? Did they used to make, it says eat and drink. Okay. Let's take a peek at the word drink. Let's see if maybe perhaps it has any indication that it probably could be some liquor involved. Well, we know they used to drink wine, right? We know they planted vineyards. We know that even if they make wine, even if they make grape juice, the way they would make it last, it involved some form of fermentation. And we know what happens when fruit juice ferments. The word for drink in Job 1:4 is shata. And it means to drink, of drinking a cup of God's wrath, of slaughter, of wicked deeds. Drink, yes. Something, look, I'm drinking. Okay? We're dealing with words and the perceptions. It means to feast. Also means to be drunk. That's the BDB definition, Brown's Driver Briggs. Strong says the primitive root is to embed, literally or figuratively. Certainly a drinker, a drunkard. It comes from the word, so that word was shatar. This word is shakar. To give to drink, to irrigate, which has to do with farming, like you're giving the plants water to drink. See? So there's all these connotations. Cause to drink, and it talks about water. To be watered, right? To moisten. So, again, coming back to the idea, we are talking about enemy. We are talking about enemy, the last, and we ain't getting there yet. Let me don't get ahead of myself. What does this have to do? Well, I didn't see no enemies. I ain't see nobody trying to come and rob nobody. I ain't see nobody trying to come and fight nobody. No. But the enemy is there. Because look at what's happening. 7 boys invites 3 girls. They're eating and drinking. They partying. Do you see the enemy? Do you see the enemy? So, start off talking about Job. It starts off talking about Job. This chapter, the book of Job is about Job. It's about what happens to Job. Somewhere in between who Job was as a person and what started to happen to Job as that person, it indicates, it gives you an idea of the kids Job had. Now, I have 2 boys. I'm telling you right now, my boys, let me say this parenthetically. Right, John? Let me say this parenthetically. My boys are a little bit different from me. They have their own mind, right? And they're grown now, so I can't make them do what they're supposed to do. What I did as a parent was to try to instill in them godly things, godly principles, godly truths. What I tried to teach them and show them and live before them was a godly way. Did I do it perfectly? I did not. Was I perfect before them? I certainly was not. Was I blameless? Absolutely not. I'm not going to stake a claim to those things. And I would tell them that all the time. That didn't make them think like me, act like me, or be me. So, what am I saying? The story of Job is about Job. But in the niche, intertwined in the story of Job, is the story of his children. Not a whole big lifetime story, but a snippet, a little cling, a little clue, a little insight into things they do, things they did. Now, listen. Verse 5. We still in the chapter, in the book of Job. We still talking about enemy with the idea of who is it? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Am I the enemy? Is the thing that challenges me the enemy? Verse 5. It was so when the days of their feasting had run their course that Job sent and sanctified them. Let's stop right there. I hope some of us listening have kids. Because we have to make this real. We have to look at this with the real perspective, with the true, honest to God perspective. We can't look at this from this fantasy thing. That this is some fantasy thing taking place with this man named Job, with his fantasy 7 sons and 3 daughters, with this fantasy feast they're having 7 times a year, with this fantasy idea that we invite in 3 girls with 7 boys to eat and drink, and with this fantasy that that's all that happened. Because the reality is, Job is a godly man. Job feared God. Job knows he has 7 sons. He knows he got 3 daughters. Job has a wife. He understood. He understands. He knows how these 7 sons and 3 daughters came to be. He also probably at that time had a good idea of what the culture, what the mentality, what the ideal and ideologies were in his day. So let's read that line again. It was so when the days of their feasting had run their course that Job sent and sanctified them. Why is Job sending to sanctify them? What is this idea? What is this thing called sanctify? Sanctification is a process of cleansing, right? It's done with water. It's what we call, I'm going to take a shower. I am going to take a bath. I am going to get me some soap. I am going to go in the water and I'm going to wash myself clean. That's what sanctification is. Why is Job insisting that his children, 10 of them, is sanctified? He rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. Question: where is Job getting this idea that I have to do this for my children? Where did that come from? Last week, we talked about Cain. Where did he get the idea that he wants to give God, he wants to present Jehovah with an offering? Where did that come from? For Job said, we're still in verse 5, Job chapter 1, verse 5. 5. So I do like this, I say 5. Job 5. It may be that my sons have sinned and renounced God in their hearts. Wow. We are talking about the enemy. We are talking about this idea that there's a devil. We are talking about this idea that this devil makes us do things that we are not supposed to do. We are talking about this enemy that continually bombards us with stuff and continually tries to get us to go against what we somehow know to be right, what we somehow know to be true, what we somehow know that we are supposed to be like this, we are supposed to do this. Somehow Job knew, and I want to say somehow his children knew, and somehow Job understood. Every time, after every party, Y'all go wash yourself, clean yourself up. And when they clean themselves up, he gets 10 burnt offerings. It didn't specify what it was. Didn't say calf, didn't say sheep, goat, nothing. Didn't say corn, grain, wheat, rice, nothing. But he offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. Because Job said, it may be that they have renounced God in their hearts. Where is the enemy? Where is the devil? Where is the serpent? Where is the demonic force? Where is it? I hope you all are getting something from this. It may sound like I'm rambling. It may sound, I don't understand what you're saying. He who have ears, this is what Yeshua said. He who have ears to hear, let them hear. Where is the enemy? Can you see him? For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned. So, one, that tells us a couple things. Job didn't go to the party. Maybe because they didn't invite him to the party. Maybe they didn't invite him because that's Papa, that's Dad. And we can't invite Dad to this party when we going to be doing all this stuff. Eating and drinking and so on. It may be that Job ain't trying to go to no young boy party. Because maybe Job don't have the chutzpah. Maybe Job wasn't the kind of father who would stand up and tell his children, y'all better, this is done. Party is over. Everybody go home. DJ, stop the music. Oh, God, listen. I don't know. But here, Job insists, after every party, y'all gonna wash yourselves, y'all gonna make yourselves clean, and I'm gonna have to go and offer burnt offering and sacrifices to my God, because I have no idea what you all did last night. Let's continue. Now, verse 6. Now on the day when God's sons came to present themselves before Jehovah, Satan, oh boy, here we go. Satan also came among them. The biblical narrative calls this person, this thing, this entity among the sons of God, calls him Satan. This is a word that we're going to have to go into, but just for now, because the word is part of the passage that we're reading, we're just going to give a snippet into what that means. Satan, it means adversary, one who withstands, an adversary in general, personal or national, a superhuman adversary. That's the BDB definition. Brown driver brakes, okay? It's an opponent. We read enemy, right? Especially with the article prefix, Satan, the arch enemy of good. Listen, an adversary, Satan, withstand. I'm just reading. BDP, the root word has the same kind of pronunciation. Maybe it's a little different because I don't have that Hebrew twang, that Hebrew dialect, so I can't say it. But it seems to me that it's the same pronunciation, so I'm going to say it the same way, Satan. But this here says, to be or act as an adversary. To act as an adversary? Are you saying that the person is not really an adversary, but he's just in a movie? Are you saying that this entity, it's possible an actor, he's an actor, acts as an adversary, acts as he's resisting, acts as if he's opposing? Oh boy. Are you saying that this entity is an actor? One who performs an action of acting. He's not really an adversary. He is just playing the part. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's see if that right there. You chew on that. You mull on that. Verse 7. And Jehovah said to this actor, where you been? And the actor said, I'm just here and there, walking around, I'm just here. I'm just checking things out. From going back and forth in the earth and walking up and down in it. I'm just looking at your creation. And Jehovah said to the actor, have you considered acting against my servant Job? Have you considered trying him? Have you considered opposing him? Because there ain't no one like him in all the earth. He is special. He is blameless. I'm reading verse 8. I'm doing my interpretation, and I'm kind of blending my interpretation with what's actually written. But if you have it in front of you, which you should, you'll see what I'm reading. For there is no one like him in the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God, one who is wise, and one who turns away from evil. So, if we go back to Job, the situation with him telling his sons, go wash yourselves, go cleanse yourselves, right? Now, if we read Levitical, the book of Leviticus, in the Levitical instructions, we know that when men and women do certain acts together, that they are declared unclean until the evening. They can't go to certain places vis-a-vis the temple. They can't take offerings. They can't do certain things because it's not that what they did was unclean, but when they do those things, they can't do those things and then just get up and go to the temple or go and present an offering or go and give a gift. You see what I'm saying? They have to sanctify themselves and they are declared unclean until the evening, right? Just the evening. So remember, Job is saying, I don't know what my children did in the party last night. They had a ring ding, they had a ring dong blast, they was eating and drinking, they had girls. I know what happened. Perhaps, y'all notice my change of headphones? Yeah, these are some funky headphones, y'all. They are funky. I love them. And they got a nice little color on the thing. You see how it kind of matching with my neck thing here. But they're nice. I ain't hearing no noise outside. I'm just hearing my voice. I'm just hearing myself talk. So, just a little side note. Because I was trying to straighten it. So, Job is saying, hey, sanctify yourself. And why are you doing that? Because I didn't do anything. I could go and present this offering on your behalf. Because I know what happened in that. And, if you're a parent and, you think that, you think the worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, boys, girls, doesn't give them the age, but they are adult enough to keep a party. They are adult enough to keep a party among themselves. So it doesn't say what age they are. They are adult enough where Joe can't tell them. Well, not that he can't make them. In other words, you know what I'm saying? He could probably tell them, but if they're adults, then they have to stand on their own 2 feet. They have to be responsible for their own actions, right? And all Job could do is do what he may have to do, what he think is right to do, in order to kind of protect them, right, from their own stupidity, from their own actions, if you will. So God is still here talking about Job. And God is pushing the actor to have a go. Hey, my boy over there, man, he blameless, bro. You can't, he doesn't mingle with evil. He doesn't he doesn't have anything, he operates like Psalm 1 says. Right? Talking about the man who's he's gosh, what does Psalm 1 say? Hold on, let me go to Psalm 1 because I can't get it and I hate when I can't get it. So I figure I have to go read it. Psalms 1. Blessed is the man who stands not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in God's law, in the law of Jehovah, in the instruction of Jehovah. And on his instruction, he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by the streams of water that produces fruit in its season, whose leaf also does not wither. Whethersoever he does shall prosper. The wicked is not so, but like the chaff which the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Jehovah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall perish. So, that's what Job shuns evil. He doesn't sit in the seat with scoffers. He doesn't sit among sinners and encourages sinners to do what they want to do. He's not like that. He shuns evil. Verse 9. And the actor answered Jehovah and said, come on, you know Job don't fear you for no reason. He has a reason for fearing you, which we should all have. Every one of us should have a reason for fearing Jehovah. Every single human being. He continues, the actor that is. Haven't you made a hedge around him, around his house, around all that he has on every side? Interesting words. You have blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. He has 10, well, we read it before. He has 10 children, 7 boys and 3 girls. Boy children was very, very important. That's something you need to look into. Okay, how important having male children was. Even today, it's still important. Okay, the male is so important in society. That's a different topic for a different day. But I want you to know that, and I want to say that. Okay? Haven't you made a hedge around him? Around his house, and around all that he has on every side. Did the narrative say that? The narrative in Job 1 opens up with the ideal that there's a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. Now, Uz and what's the place Abraham came from? Ur. It sounds so close. So close. Uz and Ur. Listen, maybe they're different. They are different. I've never heard anybody saying that they're the same. Never heard anybody say inclined that they are the same. But it sounds so similar. And that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say with that. But the narrative starts off saying that there's a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. That man was blameless and upright. He feared God and turned away from evil. Didn't say that God, like Enoch, didn't say anything for want of being explicit. Let's go. Enoch was in what? Genesis 5. Yes. Genesis 5 and 19. Jared lived after he became the father of Enoch 800 years and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Jared were 962 years, and then he died. I just said that to get continuity, what we're going into. We're going to talk about Enoch. Enoch lived 65 years and then became the father of Methuselah. After Methuselah's birth, Enoch walked with God for 300 years and became the father of more sons and more daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. 365. How many days in a year? 365 days. Isn't that interesting? All the days of Enoch were 365 years. And this is the part I want to get to. Enoch walked with God, and he was not found because God took him. So, why did I go into Enoch? Because it seems as though God, in the narrative, God, it seems to say, God, there was something about Enoch that God saw, and God was just like fascinated. He was dumbfounded. something about Enoch, and if I can't remember the teaching I did, but I remember being this expressive about Enoch and that relationship that he had with God. For some reason, God was so into Enoch that it says Enoch walked with God, and he was not found. Hey, you see Enoch? No. I saw him yesterday over there by the tree, but that was the last time I saw him. Hey, Enoch wife. Where's Enoch? You know, boy, that's a good question. I woke up this morning and he wasn't in bed, so I thought maybe he went out to the farm. I ain't see him either. He ain't come back yet. I don't know. Days pass. Hey, where's Enoch? You know, you asked me that 2 weeks ago, and the answer is the same. I don't know where he is. Enoch walked with God, and he was no more. He was not found because God took him. Phenomenal statement. God took him. It implies that there was such an awesome relationship between God and this man Enoch that God just took him. God just liked him so much. What's the difference with Job? God didn't take Job. The narrative says he was blameless and upright and feared God and turned away from evil. So, why didn't God take him? I don't know. I can't answer that. You can answer that. Nobody could, only God. And here, in this story of Job, we are talking about the enemy. Who is the real enemy? Is it the actor? Is there a real enemy? Is there an enemy in this story? I want to say, not that I want to say, I will say, yes, there is an enemy. Is the enemy this actor now coming in the picture? Is he the enemy? Because he wasn't there before. He wasn't there when Job's sons and their sisters perhaps did what Job have no idea of, but just figured out I need to do a special burnt offering for them. I don't know if anybody could understand what I'm saying. I understand exactly what I'm saying. And I hope you do. And I'm saying to you, this Satan is not the enemy. He is not the enemy. If you haven't seen the enemy as yet, you need to rewind the tape and you need to hear that part again. You need to go in there again and read between 1 and 5. Job chapter 1 and 5. And we in verse 11. And so this actor is saying to God, stretch out your hand now and touch all. Listen, the actor is saying to God. The actor is not saying, I am going to stretch out my hand and I am going to touch all he has. Oh my. Listen, we have to understand. We have to get this right. This entity, this person, this Satan that we think is the enemy, listen to what he is saying. Stretch out your hand now and touch all that he has, and he, Job, will renounce you to your face. So the sons of God gathers in the presence of Jehovah, and one of the sons of God acts as an adversary. He's an actor, because there obviously is somebody who is in need of testing. The person has gone through a number of days of training. The person has been trained. He's been drilled. He's been taught everything about how to be a soldier, how to be full of faith, how to believe. Now he has to be tested. Now we have to have the exam. And so the examiner comes and says, time for the test, time for the exam. No, as a matter of fact, the general, the general in charge, okay? The president is called what? The chief in charge, is it? No. What's the title of the president of the U.S.? He's like in charge of the military, right? Can't remember that title he has, but I'm gonna call him chief in charge. The general says, "Hey, did you test Corporal so and so?" No. Hold on. Let me start at the bottom right. Yeah, I'm gonna call him a corporal. Should I? Doesn't matter. Did you test Corporal Job? Because I'm gonna promote him. What do you mean you want to promote him? You can't promote him. He ain't do nothing. What do you mean he ain't do nothing? He blameless. He eschewed evil. He shunned evil. Yeah, that's because you've been protecting him. You move your protection. You touch everything he has. Take away his pay. Throw him in jail and see what's going to happen. He gonna denounce you to your face. Paraphrasing, right? Listen, the examiner, he is not the enemy. Chief in charge, he is not the enemy. There is not an enemy per se. There is just a test. A test that the Corporal Job has to now show forth all his training and pip the test. He has to pass the test. And the chief in charge is confident that Corporal Job is going to pass this test. So what does the chief do? Okay. Verse 12. Jehovah said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power." So you write out the test. You ask the questions. Call him in the room. Put him to sit down. Give it to him. You in charge of that. Only thing is, you can't kill him. You can't kill him. You can't harm him physically. So the examiner went from the presence of Jehovah. It fell on a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. Listen, man. We are talking about this idea of an enemy. And we have been reading Job chapter 1 with the idea in the back of our minds. Wait a second. Where's the enemy? The writer of the narrative brings in Satan. And for all the teen China, we have been taught, we have been told, we have been institutionalized by the idea and the ideals that Satan is the enemy. But I charge you, the enemy was present before Satan even came in the picture. Where did these boys and where did these girls get the idea that they could have a birthday party, they could have eat and drink? Where did they get the idea that they could come together and do what they please? And get away with it? Where did that come from? And I'm being this way because I want these questions to sink in. I want you to begin to ponder on these things. But wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold up now. Yeah. Why you think you could do what you want? Where do you get that idea from? That you could do what you want. That you don't have to obey anything God says. Matter of fact, where did the idea about the law is null and void? Where did that come from? Wait a second. Is that the Satan? Is that the devil? Is he the one giving you them ideas? Telling you could do what you want. You don't have to listen to God. You don't have to do the Sabbath. You don't have to honor your parents. You don't have to do none of that. You don't have to respect the feast days. You don't have to do that. That's dead and gone. That's nailed to the cross. Listen, we have to look at ourselves. We have to be bold enough, be brave enough to look at ourselves, to point the finger at us. I have to point the finger at me and ask myself the hard question. Am I an enemy of God? Am I opposing God? Am I his adversary? Or who is the real adversary here? Okay? Who is the real adversary? I want to talk about the last enemy, but I want to read through some passages that gives the idea that there's an enemy afoot. Exodus chapter 15. I want to move completely away from Job because we have been indoctrinated with the idea that this Satan, this devil, he is the enemy. Oh boy. I want to tell you that we may have been mistaken. Maybe we have the finger pointed in the wrong direction. Exodus 15, are you there? Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to Jehovah and said, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. I said that slowly so I could pronounce it correctly. He has thrown the horse and his rider into the sea. We know who we're talking about. The Lord, Jehovah, is my strength and my song. He has become my Yeshua, my salvation. This is my God. I will praise him. My father's God, I will exalt him. Jehovah is a man of war. Jehovah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea. His chosen captains are sunk in the sea of surf. The deeps cover them. They went down into the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Jehovah, is glorious in power. Your right hand, Jehovah, dashes the enemy in pieces. In the greatness of your excellency, you overthrow those who rise up against you. You send out your wrath. It consumes them as stubble. We all know what the story is talking about. This is the song of Moses. This is the song of Moses after the incident with Pharaoh and his chariots, after Jehovah, with a mighty hand, brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. This is a story about Pharaoh, who is symbolic of the arch enemy, who is symbolic of an actor acting as an enemy, acting as a resistance, acting as the resistance to Jehovah and his plan to bring his people out of Egypt. What makes Pharaoh think that he can oppose God? What gives him that idea? I am Pharaoh. I am king of Egypt. I am a god. What that thing go? That song is a song. I am something, hear me roar. You know what I'm talking about. What gave him that idea? Even the entity in Job understood that, wait a second, I can't do Job anything. Even though I am acting, even though I am pretending to be an adversary, an opponent, I am acting as if I am opposing. But I know in that action, I cannot oppose Job because he who is all powerful, almighty, all knowing, he who created it all, he is the one who sits in the seat of all power. Nobody has any authority if he has his way. If he says, you ain't have no authority, then you ain't got none. Even Yeshua told Herod or Pontius Pilate, one of the two of them, listen, yes, Jesus, don't you know I have authority to put you to death? Don't you know I have authority? Jesus said, listen, bro. Listen, bro. You ain't got no authority other than that is given to you. You only have that which is given. You don't have no authority. You can't do nothing. The entity in Job knew he couldn't do anything, so he tells the person who can do everything, you stand against him. You do this and you do that and you move, you take away all his substance and he'll curse you to your face. That's what he said. We just read it. In this story, the enemy, Pharaoh, Moses went to him one time. Hey, let my people go. No, who is you? I ain't never hear about no Jehovah. Who is he? I'm God here. I'm Pharaoh. Oh, you are? Okay. Throw my staff. Turn it to serpent. Oh, you think because you could make you could turn serpent. Remember that word? Because you think you could take your stick and turn it into a serpent, my man can do the same thing. Come, guys, show him what we could do. Do you notice that in the narrative, when Moses' rod or slash serpent swallowed the Egyptians' rod slash serpents, you notice Pharaoh didn't, you notice there's no comment. You notice Pharaoh ain't saying nothing. The story just kind of kept it moving. One after the other, Pharaoh kept saying, okay, do this. No, okay, no, I changed my mind. Pharaoh kept opposing, kept challenging, kept withstanding the will of God. Do you notice that? What happened in the end? We just read it. You can't withstand God. Really? Anybody who stands in opposition understands that they cannot stand in opposition. That's a stark statement. You stand in opposition, but you know that really and truly, you lose. You lose before you even begin. But if you insist that you will stand in opposition, guess what? you will lose. If you insist, you're not going to bend the knee. Demarius. Is Demarius? Daenerys, sorry. I said Demarius. I don't know where that word come from. As Daenerys said, you're not going to bend the knee? You're not going to submit to the rule of the kingdom. Or you're going to do what you want. Okay. Go ahead, partner. Go ahead. Turn to Proverbs 16. I'm going to close here on this one. We had to do another part two of the enemy. What am I looking for? I'm looking for books, not Bibles. Proverbs 16. Is it Proverbs 16? Hold on a second. I'm not sure if it's Proverbs 16. Hold on. Let me... Hold on. Hold on. Yes, it is 16. So I was right. Oh, I need to highlight that first. I do have it highlighted. How come I didn't see that? Anyway, it is Proverbs 16, so stay there. Listen to this statement. Listen to this statement. You there? Proverbs 16 and 7 says, when a man's ways please Jehovah, Jehovah makes even his enemies be at peace with him. So if Satan, if the devil, if the demon, if whomever you want to call him, if he is the enemy in your eyes, if he is the one who you've been taught and told and saturated and soaked, if he is the enemy of your soul, did you read what I just said? When a man's ways please Jehovah, he, Jehovah, makes even his enemies be at peace with him. So Jehovah could make the devil be at peace with you. Wow. You guys gotta, you guys got to understand this. So, who is the real enemy if there is someone who can squash anything that seems like an enemy? Who is the real enemy? I challenge you that the real enemy is not the devil. The real enemy is your disobedience to the Father. The real enemy is you and your perceptions. You and your dislike for being obedient to the Father. You will not like that. In the beginning, I said, we're going to talk about the last enemy, right? There are a plethora of Listen, we have been taught and taught and taught, and there are people who are not going to listen to what I'm saying. They're not going to want to hear what I'm saying. Some probably even won't understand what I'm saying because of all the years of teachings that they have heard. That is not just, it is, what I'm saying is not going to align. No, there is a devil. There is a devil. I never said there was not a devil. I'm not saying that there is not an actor who is acting as an adversary. What I am saying is that you think is the enemy is not. It's not. The devil is not the enemy. The enemy is your disobedience. And that's what you can't stand, is that the devil pokes at you in your disobedient self and causes you to continuously be disobedient. And you blame him. In the Testament, the second one, 1 Corinthians 15 and 26 calls the last enemy that will be abolished. The last enemy. So, if we think about the perception that the opposition, the adversary is a test. The test comes to check you. The test comes to withstand you, to see if you are in the right path or the wrong path. The test is all about checking to see where you are. The test is not the enemy. Satan is not the enemy. He is an opposition. He is put there as a wall, as a block that you have to either go over, go under, go through, break down. You have to squash that opposition. And the way you squash the opposition is not by being disobedient. How did Jesus achieve the name that is above every name? How did he achieve the status that he had before? How did he regain the prominence that he had before? How did he regain it? He gave it up, but then he regained it. He gave it up to show how to regain it. How did he regain it? See, if you don't understand this concept, you will continue to flow in the misconceptions and in the misperceptions that you have been taught from generation to generation, passed on down. Okay? You would continue in that, and you would continuously be missing the mark. The last enemy that will be abolished is death. Why is death the last enemy? Not the Satan, because Satan is not dead. What did Jesus say about who to fear and who not to fear? Who to be afraid of and who not to be afraid of? Don't be afraid of man. Don't be afraid of Satan. Don't be afraid of what a man can do, because a man can only kill the body. He said, be afraid of him who has the power to kill the body and cast the soul into death. Death is the last enemy. Why is death the last enemy? What did Paul say in Romans 6? For the wages of disobedience is death. And the last enemy is death. Because if you continue to disobey, you will die. There's no ifs and ands. Pharaoh. Who else? Ask everybody who disobeyed. Everybody who disobeyed and continues to disobey will see death, because the wages of disobedience is death. But the free gift of God is life everlasting. Life stands in stark opposition to death. You hear that? Life stands in stark opposition to death. That's why death is the last enemy. If you understand, to conquer the last enemy, you cannot be disobedient. Listen, if you read 1 Corinthians 15, it talks about the coming of the Messiah. It talks about when he comes, how things are going to be. When the king comes for his kingdom, there are only going to be loyal citizens of that kingdom. Listen, he will have squelched every ounce of disloyalty. Death equals disloyalty. Disloyalty equals disobedience. Disobedience equals death. He will have squelched it all. So when he gets here, this is what he's going to set up. A kingdom of loyalty. Heavenly Father, I thank you today. I thank you that he who has ears to hear, he has heard. This word is not about the devil and his plans. The devil is not the enemy. Even death is not the enemy. We and our attitude towards you is the enemy. Me and my perceptions of you is the enemy. If I continue to disobey or to be disobedient, if anybody continues to disobey or be disobedient, that person becomes your enemy. And we all know that you have victory over every enemy. There is no enemy that can withstand you. So, Father, today I pray not just for myself, but I pray for those of us who cry out to you. I pray for those of us who say we believe you, who say we trust you, who accept what you have done for us through your Son, Yeshua. And I ask you that you renew our minds, that you renew our hearts, and that you fill us with your Spirit, that we might become more and more obedient. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. Turn in your Bibles, in closing, to Numbers chapter 6 and verse 22. We have to understand this. We have to get this right. For too long, we have been misled. For too long, we have been deceived. We have to get it. Jehovah, this number 6 and 22 and through 27 reads as follows. Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and to his sons, saying, this is how you shall bless the children of Israel. You shall tell them, Jehovah bless you and keep you. Jehovah make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. Jehovah lift up his countenance toward you and give you peace. So they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Until next week, Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom. Buenas nuit, buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días, adios, arrivederci, shalom, peace.